The invasion campaign reveals Ukraine's ability to keep secrets. The Ukrainian military managed to maintain secrecy and surprise during the attack on Russia's Kursk province, despite the close surveillance of the modern battlefield. The ambitious cross-border attack campaign of Ukraine began on the morning of August 6 when its military invaded the Kursk province. Western Russia, bordering Ukraine's Sumy province. Ukrainian units quickly advanced deep into enemy territory in the following days and by August 11 had approached villages located 25 to 30 kilometers from the border, according to the Russian Ministry of Defense. It is not clear how much territory the Ukrainian military currently controls in Kursk province. The purpose of Kiev in launching this campaign is also unclear, but observers believe it could be a way for Ukraine to gain an advantage in negotiations with Russia, distract the Kremlin, boost the morale of its forces, or force the opponent to spread its forces on other fronts. Whatever Kiev's intentions may be, this surprise attack has demonstrated the ability of the Ukrainian military to keep secrets until the last minute, leaving Russia with little information beforehand to respond. Local residents in Kursk province said they were not informed of any information about Ukraine's military actions to prepare. Some people in certain villages even had to flee before the evacuation order was issued by the government. Some Russian military bloggers also strongly criticized the Kremlin for what they deemed as Moscow's failure to prepare and respond to the opponent's cross-border campaign. According to the US-based Institute for the Study of War, ISW. Although some argue that the battlefield has become transparent, where every move of troops and equipment is monitored, the attack has shown that surprise can still be achieved at the tactical level in this phase of the conflict in Ukraine, Franz Stefan Gatti, a senior member of the International Institute for Strategic Studies, IISS, said. Military analysts and Western officials are debating whether the current conflict in Ukraine is a transparent battlefield, or at least evidence that the element of surprise in modern warfare is becoming increasingly rare in the presence of continuous intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance equipment. On the Ukrainian battlefield, both sides regularly use unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, to gather information and locate the enemy's positions, alongside other traditional reconnaissance and surveillance methods. These tools help them almost fully understand the movements and actions of the enemy, thereby enabling them to deploy appropriate counter-strategies. Riley Bailey, an expert on Russia at ISW, said the flat terrain in Ukraine and the prevalence of drones make it very difficult to keep heavy weapons like tanks secret until the last minute. Mechanized warfare largely depends on the element of surprise, that is, the ability to move quickly and catch the opponent off guard, he noted. The signs on the front line now indicate that this strategy is no longer feasible. From the beginning of the conflict, both Russia and Ukraine have also posted videos deploying reconnaissance drones to designate targets for missile, rocket, guided bomb attacks, and suicide drones against the opponent's high-value assets. However, the battlefield observation capabilities of both sides may not be comprehensive, and there are still vulnerabilities that the other side can exploit. Expert Gatti believes that the reason Ukraine achieved initial success in the cross-border campaign seems to be due to their disruption of the Russian communication spectrum, preventing enemy forces and Kursk officials from contacting each other, helping Kiev maintain the element of surprise until the last minute. To sustain this, Ukraine is said to have kept secrets, even from the US, the country that has been the strongest supporter of Kiev since the beginning of the conflict. U.S. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said on August 7 that Kiev did not inform Washington in advance about the plan to send troops to Kursk, noting that this is normal for military operations. The level of deception in terms of strategy, tactics, and campaigns demonstrated by Ukraine in the planning, assembling forces, and executing operations currently taking place in the Kursk region is outstanding, retired Australian Major General Mick Ryan, an expert on warfare development, stated. Perhaps we can now abandon the misconception of the transparent battlefield. The impact of Ukraine's cross-border operations, especially on Russian leadership, is also noteworthy. The ongoing offensive is reportedly placing Russian leaders and commanders in a difficult position, having to prove their ability to defend borders while sustaining the costly human toll of the conflict in Ukraine. Ukraine's campaign has left Russian military commanders somewhat embarrassed, as they failed to detect or respond in a reasonable manner to the opponent, Gatti said. The current issue for Ukraine is whether its military can achieve the objectives set by Kiev when launching the campaign. If this attack is carried out for the purpose of diversion, attracting attention, or gaining negotiating leverage in the future, Ukraine will need a lot of ammunition, manpower, and resources to maintain and truly sustain momentum. This is an extremely difficult task, as the country's military does not have many resources to allocate to various fronts. If Ukrainian divisions move faster than artillery, air defense, and logistics units, they may find themselves isolated and overwhelmed in terms of firepower deep inside Kursk province. Ukraine is risking thousands of soldiers that this country cannot easily replace, military expert David Axe of Forbes said. The Russian military is also urgently acting to prevent the enemy's advance. The Ukrainian Defense Strategic Studies Center, CDS, an independent research institute in Kiev, reports that Russian aircraft are being redeployed from other fronts to strike Ukrainian forces in and near the Kursk region. In its daily report on October 8, the CDS stated that approximately 50% of Russian air raids are currently focused in the Kursk and Sumy regions. By dominating the information front, Ukraine signals to Western partners that Kiev is capable of planning and conducting military operations covertly, said expert Gatti. This also serves to show Russia that Ukraine can bring conflict onto the enemy's territory.